In this episode, we speak with Jan Bruennler, managing partner, and Visar Shabi, portfolio CTO at Bregal Milestone, a leading European growth equity firm investing in fast-growing mission-critical software businesses across Europe. With approximately 1.7 billion euros of capital and more than 55 investments completed since inception, Bregal Milestone provides growth capital and operational support to help build market-leading software companies. The firm is part of Bregal Investments, a leading global investment platform with over 19 billion euros in assets under management. As software companies navigate a rapidly evolving technology landscape, Jan and Visar discuss Bregal Milestone's approach to value creation, including how the firm supports portfolio companies through technology, product, and AI expertise. Prior to founding Bregal Milestone, Jan held investment roles at Mercuria Investment Management, Sculptor Capital, and Goldman Sachs. As portfolio CTO, Visar works closely with portfolio companies on technology, product, and AI strategy, drawing on prior experience at Bain & Company and Brain Labs. Bregal Milestone was recognized as a top growth equity firm of 2025 and top private equity firm of 2025 by GrowthCap. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the managing partner of GrowthCap and the executive chairman of Market Insight Media. He is the host of Growth Investor, a podcast featuring today's best investors, executives, and founders. In the minutes ahead, we'll uncover insights and strategies for accelerating growth and succeeding in business.
Jan and Visar, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Hey, RJ, it's great to be with you.
Great to be here today.
Maybe what we could do to kick off is, we'll do some introductions for each of you, and then we'll talk more about Bregal Investments, Bregal Milestone in particular. Maybe, Jan, you could kick us off with your intro.
Yeah, perfect, RJ. Happy to. So I'm Jan. I'm the co-founder, managing partner of Bregal Milestone. It's a firm that I co-founded together with two partners, just a bit less than a decade ago. And so we set ourselves up as a mid-market PE firm with a focus on B2B software, AI, and cybersecurity. Right. And so we've got today just about under $3 billion in AUM. We invest across Western Europe. Our headquarters are in London, and we've got a really international team investing from here. And so when you think a little bit about how we set ourselves up and how we want to invest in this market, right? So we try to do a couple of things our own way. So the first one is we're really focused on finding deals bilaterally, right? So we have coverage of the whole European market, which is obviously, as you know, very fragmented and diverse. And so we go in that with a really thematic lens, right? So we look at sub-themes in those software, AI, cyber sectors, and then go really deep, find those best of breed assets and try to catalyze deals with them. And then the second one is, and that's where I'll hand over to Visar, who's on with me here today, is we try to bring a really operational lens to our investments, right? About 40% of our people are operators by background. And so we try to bring that into each of our investments, both pre and post deal.
Excellent.
Oh, thanks, Jan. Yeah. So I'm one of these aforementioned operating team members. So I'm an operating director here at Bregal Milestone, known as Visar Shabi, one of a team of about 7 strong value creation professionals, looking after a range of kind of functional specialisms. So from finance to go-to-market to data. I myself look after our technology and product capability, which includes AI strategy, both across the firm, helping the partners think through what we invest in, but also AI value creation initiatives.
Well, let's switch back over to Jan. Things have changed probably since the macro environment in terms of the technology sector have evolved, since you founded Bregal Milestone, and so you've had to maybe shift how you think about maybe the investment opportunity set, as well as how you create value with each portco. Maybe can you talk a little bit about that? How maybe in your mind you've adjusted over the last few years, how you think about the market, the B2B software market, and how you think about what makes for a great investment opportunity for Milestone?
So look, fundamentally, you're right. I mean, the pace of change is probably faster than it's been. That said, I think over the last 20, 25 years or so that we've been doing this, our sectors, right, the software technology sector has always been one that's been driven by innovation, disruption. And particularly if you invest in the mid-market, you have to invest in companies that are set up to change, right? Even over one investment horizon, let alone multiple, if you're looking to exit and drive growth across multiple investment horizons. So that hasn't changed. And, we, as much as we're investing in a product today, we're investing in capabilities and teams and structures within businesses that make us confident that the business is going to be able to transform with what's happening in the market. Specifically, of course, over the last few years, I guess since 22, 23, with the acceleration in AI, LLMs, the last couple of years with more agentic workflows, that's been a key topic for us and really a focus on how we've built out our operating capability. But, in terms of our investment lens, I would say it's an evolution rather than a revolution, how we think about the space.
Mm-hmm. And so, now like honing in on your AI capabilities and how you impart those on portfolio companies, is there kind of an example, or, maybe given that this is all happening in real time, or you could also give how you propose to work with new companies that come into the portfolio companies, what you do in particular related to AI to maybe help the company transform or evolve into more rapidly what's happening in AI?
Yeah, definitely. So let me just frame, what we usually find in our companies, and then maybe Visar can talk a little bit about what we're doing about it. So mid-market can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, particularly, on different sides of the Atlantic. So what we mean, typically when we first invest, a typical portfolio company might have, between 100 and 400 people or so, maybe between 20 and 80 million of recurring revenues, right? So that's the order of magnitude where we play. And so usually what we find in those types of companies is they have really capable engineering teams. When you go and talk to them about AI, you find AI experts in, various clusters dotted around the organization, and really interesting experimentation going on. But when you then talk about changing their whole org design or changing their workflows to be really AI first in engineering, or think about changing their product architecture, right, then suddenly you're competing with everything else you're doing, right? You're trying to change the wings while the plane is flying. And so that's where Visar, my partners, and I had a bit of a rethink over the last couple of years and felt like we have to step up our game and provide more support to these portfolio companies to really be able to transform quickly.
As Jan says, right, like we recognize that this is a capability that and a need that's kind of consistent across the portfolio and for new companies coming in, right? So really the thinking was, well, we should to some degree centralize this and deploy at scale across the portfolio. So we built a capability, we're calling it Bregal Milestone Amplify, with the idea that we can kind of do two main things. The first is the ability to launch AI products directly into the portfolio company's product offering. So really kind of evolve and drive the innovation in the product offering so that, we can target kind of new types of customers or evolving customer needs as the customers themselves kind of become more AI first. And the second is around AI automation within the businesses themselves. So I think, there's a lot of thinking going on at the moment that within a SaaS company, the shape of the business will start to change. We're going to start to see things like ARR per head increase as more can be done on an agentic level. So the idea is to kind of automate as much as we can in the back end to kind of create more efficient companies. Now, the capability is something we've launched, is something that's live across the portfolio now. And, it takes, of course, different shapes depending on kind of what it is that we're trying to do. But in essence, it's a dedicated team of AI engineers, architects, and very specifically product managers, product owners who kind of think with that AI lens that we can deploy kind of at scale, at pace to support our portfolio companies.
So I guess to understand it or to clarify from my end, you would look at the company's current set of solutions that it offers its clients, and then you say, well, hey, let's maybe modify that to make it more AI advanced, or do you create a whole separate product or a mix of the both?
Yeah, I think the question really gets to the heart of product strategy. And I think for each portfolio company, you have to really think about what does the end customer need. And what we're trying to do is serve those customer needs. So I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So let's take one of our portfolio companies, a project management business. And we've taken this company on a couple of steps in the AI journey. And the first step was to say, well, now that there are AI and agentic tools available, what the customers need is actually these agents that can, autonomous agents that they can deploy to actually do some of the tasks that would previously have been done by a human. And it makes sense to do this from the project management platform because that's where all the data on what the projects that need to be done. That's where the data lives, right? So that was the first step, which we saw great success with. But over time, of course, this evolves, right? As the customers become more agentified themselves and start to automate more of the workflows themselves, that they build kind of best of breed agentic solutions rather than relying on maybe the more, say, quote unquote, generic ones coming from the project management platform. So again, we then have to evolve. And the thinking now is that, we take this company going from a project management platform to kind of a system of intelligence journey. The idea being that the platform contains lots of the information and data that kind of is at the heart of what the customer would do. Mm-hmm. And so the platform acts as kind of the nexus now for other agents across the customer deployed. So let's say customer X is using this project management platform and they have an agent desk. That agent desk now interfaces directly with the project management platform. And this is transformation from system of record now to system of intelligence. So, the project management platform becomes the center of all agentic activity. And part of the reason we're driving this, both because we think it's useful, but a lot of other companies are starting to do this similar thing. You're starting to see SAP, for example, take themselves on this kind of system of intelligence journey as well. To kind of sum up, for each portfolio company, we think very differently about what AI innovation means for them and how it serves their customers.
I can imagine, Jan, when you start talking to these prospective investment opportunities, that everyone's a little bit anxious about whether or not they're going fast enough or if they know everything they need to know to be competitive in the days, months, years ahead. Have you found that there is this kind of common question? And so you, Milestone, and your team are able to kind of fill that fear or anxiety, so to speak?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, first of all, you see the whole spectrum. And if they're anxious, then that's a great starting point because it means that they understand the challenge and they understand the size of the prize that is really there, right? So the effort and the transformation that is required to actually become an AI leader, these are the organizations where that's going to stick, where it's going to have top level support. And we love working with those founders and supporting them. I mean, generally, right? So I mentioned at the top, we like to do bilateral deals with founder-owned companies, right? And so where that fundamentally works is, you're always competing with the option of these are growing, profitable businesses. You're always competing with the option of either doing nothing or running a sell-side auction. And so you have to create that sense of excitement for the partnership that they could have with us. And one angle to get there is, as you say, you have a lot of operational conversations up front pre-deal, right? And to create that shared vision. And, it's not just that we can, reduce their anxiety by telling them, we have the resource, but we also create that enthusiasm. I'll give you another example, RJ. So there was a company that we were in conversation with and by now have invested in, and they have a fairly complex enterprise-grade software product. And they found that they had inbound interest from smaller clients. But, the product was structured in a way that onboarding them and serving these customers was cost prohibitive, right? You just couldn't take on a smaller 20, 30K annual contract value customer, and they were losing all this revenue. And then once in a while they took one on and the unit economics weren't great. And so now with this additional outside capability, what they're doing now, and they're launching, I think, a month from now, is they're building a lighter weight AI first product. It's built on the same product strengths, but clients can self-onboard, self-serve. And the goal is to drive real product-led growth, right? So on one hand, you want to capture that additional ARR growth that was just falling away. And on the other hand, we want to reduce CAC by 20% or more. And, when you get in those sorts of discussion, and not only as a suggestion, but as something that we can help implement, we create that excitement that's a foundation for a partnership.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I guess we don't typically talk about on the podcast is Europe as a geography, or investing in Europe, and you're pan-European. Would be curious to hear about maybe the nuances of investing across different countries, or are you focused on select countries in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. So we're focused on Western Europe, right, north to south, and we have a really international team. We cover all of them very proactively with native speakers, right? We speak Finnish in Finland and Spanish in Spain and so on. So, and that's still important in Europe, right? To have a real understanding of the local structures, to be locally referenced, right? If you're in Stockholm, nobody cares if you have a great network in Berlin, right? You need to be relevant in the local market. But at the same time, each of these countries has local private equity, growth equity firms. So what we really bring to the table is the international lens, right? And the track record of having scaled these businesses internationally across Europe and across the Atlantic. And so the types of founders and entrepreneurs that we then end up partnering with are those who are generally strong in their own markets, but who have an ambition and the product there that wants to scale and can scale internationally. So in order to unlock these investments, you need to be relevant locally and understand how the market works. But then our real value add is, pulling the German business into the UK, the US, into Scandinavia, and vice versa.
And do you facilitate some of that through the other firms within the Bregal Investments family, or is it pretty much contained within the Bregal Milestone network?
Yeah, I mean, each of the Bregal firms, run their own investment process end to end, from, the sourcing to the execution to the value creation. So we're all, full stack PE firms and run that all in-house. That said, we have a great relationship with the other firms, of course, and a firm like Bregal Sagemount, for example, obviously has a tremendous network and track record in North America, and we can help each other out across the Atlantic in that way.
Mm-hmm. Visar, I'm curious, switching gears back to value creation and AI, curious if there's kind of like something, more recent that you've discovered, because, AI is always evolving and there's always new product solutions being launched, and this could veer more to the general, but is there something that particularly has you excited within the AI space and how it's applied to companies?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a tech person by background through and through. And I think the thing that's exciting me most is no one's really settled on a name for it yet. So kind of this AI-driven development as a concept. So what was previously known as kind of software development or software development lifecycle, I would say is a solved problem. If you want to know what good looks like, you can just check a blog post out and it'll just tell you, like, this is what you do. This is how you set up a modern technology company. Anyway, that's out the window. And fundamentally, nobody knows what software engineering will look like in 2 or 3 years. But suffice to say, it will look very different. And everybody is trying to figure it out at the moment. Some are more advanced than others. But it's this funny arms race where both the AI providers and the companies using it are kind of constantly evolving all the time. So there's no kind of equilibrium. Now, we're in the business of investing in software companies which sell software. So kind of the main kind of factory line is the software engineering production line, right? And for me, seeing how that evolves will be the fundamental thing in changing kind of how our portfolio companies evolve as well. I appreciate that's a very kind of deep kind of tech answer, but the faster we can all crack how to deliver software better using AI, the better the software that will be delivered will become. And, I think early estimates are very wildly right, from 30% to 60%, but that range, even 30% improvement in kind of delivery velocity, et cetera, is a huge win, particularly when most of the time companies are constrained by the level of kind of tech delivery they can do.
We're entering the tail end here, and maybe what we could do is close with Jan maybe describing to the founders and CEOs in the audience the difference with working with Bregal Milestone. And we covered some of the value creation stuff. One thing we try to hone in on at Growth Cap is really the culture and the ethos behind the firm, because ultimately it's the experience of the people involved in this company growth and scale process that's most important to many people. It's not just the end result of okay, we got a 3x 5x return, but it's like, well, what was the journey like over those several years? So maybe if you could just share with us how you think about working with companies and what the difference is with working with Milestone.
Yeah, happy to. As I said, we're a very outbound, outward-facing firm, and we look to enter into dialogues with amazing companies that are in attractive segments, that are profitable, that are growing, that don't need to raise money, and that have no shortage of people wanting to give them money if they choose to raise some. So I think, the feedback that we've sometimes received is that first of all, we come into the discussion with a point of view. We don't want to come in, and we try to tell this to our younger team members as well, and they do a great job of implementing it. Don't go to a founder with the expectation that they owe you any information. From day one, from the first time they sit across the table from us, we want them to feel like we're adding value. We want to set the tone of the partnership in that way to see, how can we contribute? How would we contribute our experience, our operating resources, our network in countries where they might not be that strong yet, channel partners and so on. And how can we bring that to bear? And I think that's how I want to set the tone in these conversations, and then build from there, from that notion of respect for what the founders have built. And, from that, we can then build the trust that their business is going to be in good hands.
Wonderful. Well, Jan and Visar, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, RJ.
Thank you, RJ. Appreciate it.